Alright, so this is going to be chapter 4 in Yahoo SiteBuilder tutorials, and what we're going to do today is learn how to compress images for web so that they can load a little bit faster. We're going to be creating links for those images, kind of show you how to attach files to them, link them to different places, and we'll kind of create our own photo library and how to showcase the photos on your website. So first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to find an image. So let's go to Internet Explorer here and let's type in let's do boat. Okay, so let's go to images here. And let's see here. Let's see if we can find a pretty good looking boat. Guess it doesn't really matter. We'll just do the first one here. This looks pretty good. Okay, we'll save the picture and we'll save it to desktop here. So just close this. Alright, so now that we have our boat, we're going to open up Photoshop. And we're going to open up the image here. Now, the image is 1 megabyte in size, I believe, when I saw it. Let me just double check here real quick. Yeah, so it's about 1 megabyte in size, but it's a pretty large, pretty huge file. So for web, we have to create 2 different icons. We have to, or 2 different images. We have to create a thumbnail image, and we have to create compress the normal size or whatever actual size image that you want to showcase on your website. Whether it be like a product or maybe just some photography, but you don't want to give it away the actual size of your photo, so that way people don't use it. So let's go up here to image, and we're going to image size, and we're just going to make this 800. Let's just do 800 here and click OK. Okay, let's zoom in with our zoom in tool. So that's the actual size of the image. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go to File, Save for Web and Devices. Okay, and it may be different here. You're going to want to change it to JPEG and optimized, checked. And the next thing you'll notice is that we have different options here from low and to maximum. Now the thing to note is down here tells you the actual file size. So right now we're at 118K. So if I were to do this at maximum, we're at 436K, and we're still compressing. So it beats the it beats the 1 megabyte mark, which is definitely something we want to stay under. But let's take a look here. Actually, let's take a look at maximum. Maximum looks great. Let's go all the way to low. Alright, so on low, if you can't see it, there's some pixelations here. So if I zoom in at about 300%, we can kind of see the pixelated boxes. So I'm going to move up one, medium. Okay, looks like they're a little bit smaller, but I can still see some big spots here. Let's go to high. Yep, high looks pretty good. The shadows are not blocky. They're actual, got some nice good shadow going on here. There's some slight pixelation, but we're at 300% zoomed in right now. So if we go all the way out, you can barely tell. You can barely tell, and it looks good. And we're at 118K kilobytes. Now, let's say you have a file, and like I said before, you'll always want to stay under a meg. So let's say you do have an image and it has a lot of color variation. The more colors in the image, then yeah, it's going to be a little bit larger in the compression. And you'll especially notice it in reds. In reds and pinks, those tend to show a lot of compression as far as those colors go, compared to some of the other colors that I've seen here. If you need to fine tune it, so let's just say it's just right at the 1 megabyte mark and you want it to be just a couple of kilobytes less and the quality still looks great, you can always go over here to quality and you can move it down excuse me, you can move it down slightly and the quality will change every single time you move it down 1%. and the file size will change as well. It'll change by a couple of kilobytes. So that's really good to use. Okay, and that's pretty much how you compress an image. Any size image that you want to use for web, I highly recommend compressing it to not maximum. I think high is pretty good for images that don't have a lot of color in them. And what I mean by color, I mean like a real good vivid image that has a lot of vivid colors going on. Then you probably want to do very high. But for something like that came out of a cell phone or just anything that doesn't have a lot of color showing, high is usually going to be pretty good. So we're going to do a high for right now. Default high at quality 60, so we're at 118K. Okay, so we're going to save that. We're going to save that as boat 1. Okay, now we need to create our thumbnail image. So depending on the site and depending on how you have your pictures laid out and organized, just kind of calculate, just right click on the image or the image box that you've made. So let's say if I'm making a box that's about like this and I have multiple boxes kind of creating like a picture library here, I want to go to properties and figure out what the height and width is so I can match that. But we haven't built the site yet, so for now we're just going to resize this to something a little bit smaller. So a thumbnail size, let's do 200 for thumbnail. Okay, we always want to make sure the height and width stay the same too. You don't want to disproportion the image. Okay, we're going to save for devices, web and devices again. And this time let's take a look at medium. Let's see how medium fares. Yeah, medium still not doing so well in some of those shadow areas of the water, so we'll leave it at high. High still pretty good. And we're only at 8K. Okay, so we'll click save here, and we'll save it as boat number 2. Alright, click save. And that's going to be it for the Photoshop portion of this video. It's very basic, just resizing and converting. Okay, now we want to drag both of these into Yahoo SiteBuilder. So that way they're built into our image database here, in our image library. Okay, and we're going to delete the big image because we only want the small one here. Okay, now what we can do is, in order to have it clickable and linked to that image, we'll just go to properties here and file on my computer. When it says my computer, it actually means the image library here. So we'll click browse and do boat 1 because that's our bigger image. So if we click OK, save it and publish it, we have a clickable image here, and then it brings us to the larger image. Okay, so that's one way of doing photos. This method is only good, in my opinion, if you want to showcase something very large and you do want people to download it. So let's say if you're doing a product or designing a movie poster or something that you want people to be able to download and use as like their desktop background, or something that you want them to reprint. This would be one method of doing it. But you do have to note that it does take them away from the site, and so they will have to go back. Now another way of doing this is if I go to properties and I click right here, a target window, I can do a new browser window. So if I do that method and click, it opens up a new tab, and I can still go back to where I was without losing my place. Okay, so that's another method. Also in properties, okay, we have here select the type of link. We can link it to a page in our site. So if we have like a contact us section and this big picture or square or whatever, it says contact us, people can click on it and it'll go to that page in your index here. Or it could go to another website. So if it's like if you're advertising a product, when they click on the image, it'll go to their website or something like that. Okay. Email address is pretty basic. It'll just open up the default email client on whatever they're using on their desktop. And file on my computer can also be not only images, but it can also be files. However, I don't suggest putting actual file like software type files in your library here. I think it's best to have that on your server and just have it be a link to that server location, that file location on your server. It's probably the best way of doing it. So that way, you don't have to deal with. Well, you're going to have to upload the file anyway. So yeah, that's pretty much the only other way. The file on my computer is only good for images. Anything else is just not going to work. And then you can have it specify a certain web action. So you can type in a certain code here, and like for example, let's say if I wanted to have this image be clickable, as soon as they click on it, it actually sends them back. So it's like they're clicking back on the browser. You can do that here as well. But other and file on my computer, I usually don't mess around with any of those. It's always usually these top three are the ones. Okay, so that's that. Another thing I'm going to show you that a lot of new websites are using here is we're going to go to one of my favorite websites here for free HTML codes, different kind of codes that you guys can use. And we're just going to use the first one here. So we got Lightbox Image Viewer. Okay, so what this is going to do is as soon as I click on an image on my site, it's going to load and open up this small little box. Okay, now this website is pretty cool. It's got a lot of different stuff that you guys can play around with. I'm just going to show you how to open up this one here. But let's go to the new one, 2.0, the Lightbox Image 2.0, which I know you guys have probably seen before. They're really popular in blogs as of late. Let's see if this will load. Okay, if I click on an image here, it kind of does this scaling motion. Looks like we can go back and forth between two different images too. Okay, so that's pretty cool. So yeah, so let's go back to Lightbox Image Viewer. This one's pretty good and works with a lot of mobile devices too, so that way you don't have to worry about any kind of flash elements going on. And it looks like, so here's the download link. So we're going to download this, save it to desktop. Okay, and now the next step is we need to have a FTP program. So mine is FileZilla. You can use any FTP program you like. FileZilla is one of the good free ones out there. And as soon as whatever hosting company you have, just put in all your server information here. Okay, I'm just going to log into mine real quick. And we're going to extract what we have here. So if we open it up, we have all these files. Now I already have this Lightbox on my server, I believe. Yep, it's right here. Okay. Looks like I already have some of my test runs. Old test runs are in here. Let's delete those real fast for this demonstration. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to upload both boat 2 and boat 1. We're going to put that on our server. So I'm just going to drag this into the folder that I've created on the server titled Lightbox. So basically all I did was just take this Lightbox folder, drag it into my server here, and it created a space for it. So now I have both the player, so this is the image player, and I have the images in this folder. So that everything that's in here will be linked to this Lightbox here. Now the images don't have to be on the server. They can actually be hosted on any other site. If you have like a free image client, you can use that. It can be links from a website. It can be anything. But if you want to actually host the images on your server without, for example, if that site goes down, the image goes down with it. So it's usually best to try to host everything yourself as much as possible. Okay, so now that we have both of those, let's go back to the website here. The website says insert this into the head. Okay, we're going to copy this. Now we're going to, on the index page, we're going to right click and go to HTML. Okay, and we're going to paste it in the head. Now I'm going to click OK here for a second. There's a difference between this type of HTML. This HTML is everything that happens in the background of this particular page. And this type of HTML, if we go to Insert Code Elements HTML, this is what happens on the front of the page. So any kind of code that I put here will show up front. We don't want to deal with that right now. Okay, so let's go back to the HTML code here. So what we want to look for here is href equals, and then we have quotations here. We want to find out where this is located on our server. So we have lightbox.css. This is the folder that we uploaded. So we have lightbox CSS, and then we have lightbox JS. Okay, which is the same thing here, lightbox JS. So src equals and href equals. These are type of links. These are link type wording for an HTML to link something to something. So it looks like we just have to link these from our server. So my server is endervision.com, that's the website. So I'm going to type in endervision.com/lightbox, because that's what the folder was called, /lightbox.css. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing here, right in front of the quotation mark. www.com/lightbox. Oh, I actually forgot one thing. box. endervision.com/lightbox/lightbox.js. Okay. Whenever we're dealing with code here, we have to manually type in every single thing. So we have to even do the http:// as well for this. We have to do everything longhand. http://. Okay, there we go. So those are what's linked to our server. If you don't know how to type what I just typed in, it's basically just yourwebsite.com/ where it's hosted on your server. If you have trouble trying to figure that out, just find the image or find the file. You can right click and then you can copy URLs to clipboard. So you can copy that location onto the clipboard and then you can paste it right in. There may need to be some editing involved. Like if I were to do this one here, copy URL to clipboard, since I'm going through GoDaddy, they kind of have a different method. So if I paste it, you see it says FTP, and it gives me all these numbers, myftpupload.com, right? So the only thing I would have to remove is that everything from or before the .com, I just have to replace with the http://mywebsite.com, and then leave the rest of it there. And that goes the same way for sending links to people through your server using that that type of method on FileZilla. Okay, so we got our code here. We're going to click OK. And now it's saying create your thumbnail HTML using 3 flavors are supported. Okay, so it looks like there's 3 different ways we can do it. Let's just do the first one here. Let's take a look at the first one. So this is actual front HTML coding. This is what's going to happen in the front. So we're going to go to Insert Code here, HTML. We're going to paste it. Okay, and these are going to be the links to the images on our server. Alright, so it looks like this one here is going to be where the thumbnail is going to go. Okay, so we're going to do the longhand again, http://endervision.com/lightbox /boat BOAT1 boat.jpg http://vision.com/box. Always make sure you type this stuff in correctly, because even one missed letter, number, or symbol will not make the code work. So lightbox / I'm going to delete this and we're going to call it boat2.jpg. I believe is how it was hosted on the file. Now it's going to give us this small box. So if I preview it, it's going to be in that small box. So we need to resize this box. What is this here? Oh, it's done. Okay, we're going to resize this box to kind of fit this. Alright, the best way to do that is to kind of just put it over it and use your arrow keys on the keyboard and try to get it to the edges here. And then we're going to try to fit it as best as we can. And then we're going to do 2 pixels to the left and 2 pixels down. Just kind of give it some more space. Oh. Let's see if we can get this as accurate as possible. Okay, so now I'll put this over here. Let's just try to eyeball this site, try to center it. Okay. Okay, so we're going to click Save here. Alright, we're going to allow the content. And then we're going to click on our image. There we go. So now we can still see the website in the background, so that's a benefit, so the individual doesn't lose their spot. And then we just click it to close it. So there we go. That's one way. And this is the other way. Alright, so I think that's going to be about it for this chapter. Like I said before, I'll have these links into the description of the video. And you guys can sit here and check it out. Oh, another thing is, let me show you this website too. This is another one that I like to use. Wow Slider. It's a pretty good program. I believe it is $30 to purchase this program. The reason why is because it kind of gives you this software here to customize, you know, all the images you want to use and kind of have all these cool different effects and whatnot. And it basically gives you the HTML file. It gives you all the folders you need. And so all you have to do is just kind of drag them all into your server and then create a iframe. So create an iframe and have it linked to that HTML file that they provide for you. And then the slider will appear. So let me give you an example here on my website. Actually, I have division.com. I have a client that I worked with called Chomp Chomp Nation. They're a food truck here. And this is their slider. This is the slider I made for them using the WoW slider here. So there's different kind of animations I could choose. It kind of just goes through some of their food. So that's just one way of doing an image slider if you want it to go across. And then for viewing images on a website, this is usually probably the best method. This one or the other ones that are available on that site. So again, to do a quick review, basically all we're doing here is we're creating a final image that you want people to see, and then we're creating a thumbnail image. So you always have to create 2 images for every one image that you're making, a thumbnail size and then an actual size. And then if we right click here and go to properties, we can change what we want that image to do, where we want it to go and send our users. And then again, for that website, we want to put everything that runs in the background, we want to put it all here in this head part. And then for the actual front end of HTML code, we want to put it here in this area, which is what this is. And always make sure that once you've created this type of file, always make sure that's about the same size as this, so that way when you're sizing everything to proportions, you know, try to make it. Of course, we could sit here, you know, and make it as big and small as we want to. But then again, the image just doesn't change. Only the box. It just creates a bigger invisible box around it. Okay, so I think I've pretty much touched everything for image conversion and linking images and compressing images and stuff like that. So this is pretty much it for chapter 4.